Here.
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 Here. Thank you. I'd like to welcome you all to this board meeting. I know it's cold out there, and so you're probably grateful to be inside where it's warm, and hopefully you came for more than that. But we're glad to see you and always glad to have you. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is in that corner, and Paul Rudlinski will lead us in the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There is an attendance sheet in the hallway if you'd like to register your attendance, and please feel free to do that. Item 2, approval of minutes dealing with the regular session of January 12 and the executive session of January 12. Have you received any corrections for the, does anybody have any corrections at this time? Hearing none, approval of the minutes motion?
So moved.
Second.
Paul Rudlinski,
Aye.
Molly Ansari,
Aye.
Stephanie Bellino,
Aye.
Jackie Ford,
Aye.
Larry Kaveen,
Aye. Item 3, recognition awards, presentations, and public hearings. Number 1, tradition of excellence for GHS students, something we're all really happy about, for the Skaldeck Literary Magazine.
So Mr. Rogers is here. Come on up, Mr. Rogers. The board will make their way around here, and Mr. Rogers will brag about you, and then he'll give you directions to come up and shake hands with the board, and we'll do a photo op there. Take it away, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Barrett.
Yes, sir.
It's my pleasure to be here this evening, and we appreciate the board giving us the opportunity to honor students who have done great things at Geneva High School. And we're going to start tonight with some artists, in particular, terrific photographers. These students that we are going to introduce this evening submitted artwork and placed in the annual Scholastic Art Competition, which is always, the results are always announced in January. The students tonight either earned what's called a gold key, a silver key, or honorable mention. The gold key winners will have their artwork move on to national judging, and if their artwork is deemed worthy, it will be on display, I believe, at the Carnegie Institute in New York City, if I'm not mistaken. And so that is quite an honor. And before I go any further, I just want to thank GHS art teacher Danica Fahmy and Mr. Christopher for their leadership in submitting student artwork to this Scholastic Art Competition. I also want to add that all of these students' artwork is being displayed in an exhibition at Downers Grove North High School in February, so we will publicize that as well. So at this time, I'm going to introduce the students, and as they are making their way through the line, I will share the title of their artwork and also the award that they won, and some of them have won multiple awards. So first, Morgan Kennedy. Morgan earned 2 Silver Key Awards, one for a photo of her father, Mr. Kennedy. And that's the title of her photograph that was entered, Mr. Kennedy. And the second one was called Elevated, which was experimental photography. Again, Morgan earned 2 Silver Key Awards. Congratulations, Morgan. Next up. Next, earning 3 awards, was Von Lautenschlager. Von submitted On a Hill, which earned a Gold Key Award. Submitted another entry called Detached Backstreets, which won a Silver Key, and then Cyclical Symphony, which earned honorable mention. Congratulations, Von. Next, Miles Shepard. Miles is here. Great. Miles earned a gold key and a silver key. His first entry, Erica, earned a gold key, and his second entry, called Stop the Clock, Stills of an Urban Landscape, a portfolio, earned a silver key award. Congratulations, Miles. And finally, Sage Wilson. Sage earned a gold key award for her entry titled Tattoo. These outstanding artists have made Geneva High School proud. This is a long-standing art competition, and we're very proud of the entries that these students submitted. Congratulations to all four of you again. They're not used to being behind the or in front of the camera. Yes, feel free to get up and take a photo. Mr. Kennedy, you were the one photographed. This is your chance to take a photo. Thank you. Congratulations. Next, we have the pleasure of honoring students who were the contributors to the 2025 Skaldic Literary Magazine at Geneva High School. The title of that magazine was Ubiquity. Geneva High School's literary magazine, we were informed back on January 14th, earned an All-American Award from the National Scholastic Press Association, NSPA. The magazine earned 4 out of 5 marks of distinction for writing and editing, photography, art, graphics, design, and concept. This is the 7th time since 2010 that our magazine has received an All-American rating. As if that wasn't enough, and that was the reason why we scheduled the honors tonight of our Skaldic contributors, but between then and now, we have learned that the magazine has earned yet another award. They earned a first-class rating from the National Council of Teachers of English. This distinction puts us in the top 8 magazines in Illinois, along with Stevenson High School, Lisle, Lyons Township, Naperville North, Fairview South in Skokie, Homewood Flossmoor, and St. Ignatius College Prep. Before I I'll introduce the teachers and sponsors of this terrific magazine here after I introduce the students. We are fortunate to have a number of current students who contributed to the success of this magazine. And usually it's flipped over. Usually the contributors are oftentimes a little more experienced. They're seniors and they've graduated by the time we receive these awards. But tonight we have a long list of students who did a great job of earning these awards for the Skaldic at Geneva High School. Starting with Addison Brinks. Jay Heckman. Hunter Knopke. Hope Montague. Bo Moritz. Danielle Nasra. Maddie Nelson. Finn South. Claire Totman. And Cameron Winzaninski. Would also like to honor and congratulate Heather Peters, Geneva High School English teacher. And Mr. David Howell, also a Geneva High School English teacher. We very much appreciate these teachers' dedication and the expertise that they lend to these students in helping them be successful compiling this magazine every year. If you have not yet seen one of these magazines, I highly recommend that you reach out to Heather or Dave. They are really, really impressive. And again, once again, to this group of students, and if any of our graduates from last year happen to tune in, I'll just real quick, Julia Kastenmeyer, Cecilia DeAngelis, and Ashley Michelli were also contributors to this magazine. So congratulations to all of you on a terrific job. Thank you again for the opportunity to honor these wonderful students. We appreciate you being here. Have a great night. And yes, you are free to go.
Well, there goes our audience.
Thanks, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you. Oh yeah, have you got a spritz? Shoot. Thanks.
Yeah, actually, 100%.
Okay, item 2 on this agenda, the Fox Valley Career Center Student Experiences from Jeanette Sims.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity tonight. I'm actually going to speak very little, and I'm very appreciative to have several Geneva High School students who will be up here joining me to share their experiences. Let me get connected.
While Shawnette's getting connected, I just want to thank her for putting this together, but more importantly, thank the awesome students who are here to tell us about their experiences. This is an area that we have talked about a lot at this table, but have not had an opportunity to hear from the students who are really getting this experience. So I know the board is grateful for this. I'm grateful for this, and it's awesome for us to hear about what you're experiencing and as you're planning for your future. So thanks for coming. And also, I think just for us and for the community, awesome to see, again, as happened so many times, the unique diversity of experiences that kids are having. The kids we got to recognize a bit ago, and now these young people and what they're working on. So this is great. And Mrs. Sims, thanks for getting us started. I would also just, because it's my job, keep that mic close to your mouth so that everyone can hear you when they watch you on this great video.
So
Thanks so much for coming.
Absolutely, and thank you again. Thank you to the board and Dr. Barrett for this opportunity. Why Fox Valley? So in their catalog, they actually have this mission statement, which their goal is to ensure that they are preparing students for whether it's post-secondary continued education or post-secondary work, that they are collaborating with the local high schools in Kane County and providing opportunities for students to gain licensure, to gain experience, and then to also start to begin to kind of dab their toes into a career path that they're interested in. They offer 11 programs, and within those 11 programs there are 31 course pathways, and so the programs are listed there, and we have student representatives from 6 of those program categories. In Geneva, we have students that are participating this year in 10 programs and in 17 of the course pathways. And then Gina Lease from the high school shared the following numbers with us. So we've been pretty consistent around that 50 number with the students participating at Fox Valley Career Center. But I hope what you'll hear from the students who are participating from this representative sample is that for them, it's meeting a need that they have and an area of interest that they have. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our student guests. So they're going to introduce themselves, talk about the program they're in, and then just answer a couple of questions.
I'm Catherine Davison. I'm in the Basic Nurses Assistance Training Program. I chose the Fox Valley Career Center because I hope to go into medicine one day. And my advice for other students is to take a chance on the program and not pass it up.
Hi. Am I close enough? I don't know. Okay. I'm Eliana Dressback, and I'm in the Cosmetology 2 program. I took Cosmetology 1 last year. It is a long program. I am 900 hours out of 1,500 hours out of a cosmetology program. Why Fox Valley Career Center? I think it's really important for people who are not planning to go to college to have the opportunity, who know what they want to do, to experience things that they're actually going to use in a career. My future plans right now is to become a mortuary cosmetologist, meaning that I'd be working on embalmed people. My advice for others is to really just look into other options besides college, because there's a lot more careers out there than people realize that don't involve college as the main pathway.
Fantastic interest.
Hello, I'm Maureen Prang, and I am in Criminal Justice and Law Enforcement 1. I chose Fox Valley Career Center because I'd always been interested in criminal justice and law enforcement. And before I had taken the class, I'd been mainly interested in becoming a CSI. And I thought that would kind of go hand in hand with law enforcement. But now that I've taken the class, I have definitely been more open to other options, and in the law enforcement, I've been more open to becoming even a police officer. And advice I have for others, I think would be definitely is, if you have any slight interest in taking the class, is to take it, because it's a great opportunity to learn hands-on, and it's just even if you're not sure, it's just it gives the good baseline knowledge of your potential career that you want to pursue in the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name's David Zikas. I'm in Electrical Systems 2. I chose Fox Valley because it seemed super interesting to me, because it was a class that got me out of Geneva, and then it got me a class where I got to work with my hands. My future plans are to go into either commercial electrical or go to be a lineman. And then my advice for others is it's a great course. You get to learn a lot, and it really strengthens all your abilities.
Hi, I'm Sophia Stewart. I'm in Fire Science 1 and EMT. I took this course this year because, honestly, I had a lot of room in my schedule, and I was interested. A lot of my friends were in the fire service, so, looking at what they were doing, I had gained interest, but I didn't, want to commit to anything right off the bat, so doing fire science here was, a good place to start with, not a lot of commitment of I have to do this in the future. It's a good place to explore. And then for EMT, it's a great program. It's at the end of the year, I'll be able to take the national registration of the NREMT, the certification, and I need that to be a firefighter, so it goes hand in hand, and it's really good. It sets you up for everything you need to become an EMT, and yeah, I've really loved it. Future plans, I am gonna go to a fire academy after this because I did fall in love with firefighting through this program. And my advice for others is probably make the most of it. Like, take all the opportunities that they like hand you, and kind of like what you put into it is what you get out of it.
I'm George. I'm in the fire science program, and I also picked the program to have a hands-on class that kind of gets me out of Geneva, to be honest. But anyway, my future plans. I'm planning to continue at Fox Valley with the EMT class next year, and then kind of follow the first responder pathway after graduation. And my advice for others is to just take advantage of all the resources they offer, because as Sophia said, you get out what you put in.
So before we turn it over to questions, I would share that one thing that all these students had to do that would be important for anyone else considering is you do have to plan. If you happen to have extra time, as Sophia shared, that's great, but otherwise our students have to really, that sophomore year, plan their schedule around opening up time, because typically it's 3 class periods that they have to have available to participate in Fox Valley programming. So before we turn it over to questions, I again want to thank these students for sharing their experience and the benefits they have gained from Fox Valley Career Center. And I hope one of the things they realize is that, you know, with the skills they're learning, not only are these going to be applicable to wherever they go in the future, but for many of you, you will have multiple job offers upon finishing your program. So that's wonderful. So any questions for any of our participants or for me?
Well, thank you very much. Did you have
Yeah.
a question? Okay.
So what we've heard in the past is some of the reasons we don't have more students taking this is because of the difficulty on scheduling. So how do you solve that longer term so that if there are other students, they can actually take advantage of this?
Yeah, so the scheduling is kind of a 2-part problem. So number one is if they've got to plan accordingly, because you still have to get in your graduation requirements. So it's important when they're working their core academics in. But also we have limited spaces available to us at Fox Valley Career Center. So I know Dr. Barrett has shared that he's been in conversations with the new director out at Fox Valley Career Center, as well as some local representatives about looking for ways we can expand some programming to make it more available not only to our students, but maybe even perhaps some students in some of our surrounding high school districts. But so it's a 2-part. So again, they just have to plan the schedule accordingly so that they have the appropriate amount of time available in their schedule to be gone, but are also still meeting those academic requirements. So that just requires them having that conversation early with their counselor and their parents for course selection periods. And then also just, it is very quick. I know Mrs. Klatt has shared, the Department Chair of Counseling advising that, like for example, for the nursing program, we get 8 seats, and it is a first come, first serve. So once those 8 are up, they're up.
Yep.
So.
Right. So I was going to add, if I just add on to that real quick, I think, it's kind of a 2-part thing in terms of expanding those opportunities, as Shawnette said, as we've been working with the Fox Valley Career Center. Remember, that's part of a consortium where multiple districts work together. So one of the things we're looking at in the more short term to give kids awesome experiences like these folks have is, are there ways we can expand some opportunities now at the Career Center so there could at least be more seats available? And then longer term, are there other ways we could expand those opportunities and maybe not have them be, maybe they don't all have to be in that same physical location, so that then maybe our students wouldn't have to give up so much of their schedule, which could then maybe open some of those opportunities to more kids. That's a longer term solution with a lot more things to try to work out. But those are kind of that's the 2-pronged approach we're trying to take on that.
And where is it located? I don't know.
It's attached to the Canelan High School, and I would, if you've not been out there, they'd love to give tours.
They would love.
It's a great facility.
And do we take care of the transportation for the students?
For some programs, yes. For others, they have to provide their own because it depends on where their program is offered. So if I, like Cosmetal, come on up. Yeah, I was just gonna say for Cosmetal.
Yeah, so like my program, for example, I'm actually in DeKalb, and my transportation is not provided. And if there was a way to provide more transportation, my guess is that the cosmetology programs that are contracted through Fox Valley would definitely be open to taking more students. They have talked about wanting to take on more students, and they know that it can be really frustrating with the transportation. Thankfully, I have one other student and we carpool, and the timing it takes for my program is different. I'm there from 2:30 to 7:30, 3 days a week, and 8 hours every other Saturday. So there are other constraints within that for my program that make it hard. I don't know how many other programs are like that at Fox Valley, but cosmetology is one of them.
I think your point is really well taken, and it's important to point out because so many of these programs are very unique with different licensure and credentialing. You know, these young people, it's not just like a normal school day for any of them. There's all sorts of unique experiences that, as Shawnette said, they're getting like amazing life skills doing a lot of grown-up stuff that a lot of their peers aren't doing. Because every one of these has unique expectations because of the credentialing and the different requirements for your program versus your program. So that's a lot on these young people and also a lot on the Career Center to try to manage and facilitate all of that. And they do a really great job of doing that for kids.
One thing I wanted to share is I spent some time at the Career Center a couple of years back, and I did a tour. We did some interviews. It was a great experience, but I didn't realize how unique of an experience this is. I think we are like one of 2 or 3 of these career centers in the state. Like there's not very many, and sometimes they're not even like directly affiliated with high schools. It might just be like a standalone kind of thing, and there are not even many across the country. So I'm grateful we have this experience for our students and that we're continuing to look at how we can grow that and make that even better.
Anyone else? I want to congratulate you young people for focusing on something that you're very interested in. I'm sure you'll agree it makes studying easier and more fun. So good for you.
Again, thank you to our student guests tonight. I know they're all very busy, so I appreciate their time this evening. You are free to go.
Thank you so much. Great job.
Oh, wait a second here. All right, item 3, student discipline data and Scalia.
Yeah, well, Anne's getting connected here, and I'll give her the reminder to keep the microphone close to her mouth too. This is some data that I'm grateful to Anne to be here to share. I think it's pretty informative. And here's a little bit of the context. You know, every month the board gets a report on some discipline and, you know, the suspensions that have happened in the district. And from time to time, we as a team here have had conversation about that and what is this really telling us and what can we drill down into this a little bit. Well, there is a group, it's a board committee technically, the Parent-Teacher Advisory Council that has to meet has to meet every year. Obviously, some board members sit on that. And at a recent meeting with that group, the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee had an opportunity to review some of this data and have some good conversation about it. And so we thought, given that conversation often or comes up from time to time here, we thought it'd be valuable to share some of this data with the board and community as well. So I'll pass it on to Anne to jump in.
Good evening, everyone. I will preface this by saying this is not going to be nearly as fun and exciting as that last presentation was. but I will do my best. So I just want to start out with our district vision and mission, right? And when thinking about discipline, we also have to remember that discipline and consequences is oftentimes coupled with positive reinforcement. It's always coupled with positive reinforcement. And some of the things I'm going to be talking with you guys tonight about are our last resort. But it is our job, right, to make sure that students are empowered to succeed. And we have to remember that there's many skills that people must have to be successful, and it's not just academic skills. So just a little bit about our district. I wanted to put up here our district demographics. So most of the information I'm going to be sharing with you is from 24-25. Some will be from the previous year, but this was the demographics as on our district report card. So we had 4,964 students, and this is how our students kind of flush out demographically. Okay, so I can always go back to this if need be. So tonight we're going to be talking about in-school suspensions and out-of-school suspensions primarily. This gives the data from the last 2 school years. So we have gone down significantly from 2023-24 to 24-25. So we had 117 total incidences of an in-school or out-of-school, and the following year we had 91. I think the biggest celebration is that our out-of-school suspensions, and this is our number of suspensions, went down significantly from one year to the next. I'd have to talk with our building leaders to ask why. I don't have any reasoning behind that data. I will talk a little bit about some of the things we have in place that are supporting students that I think is why our suspension rate overall is significantly lower, which I'll get to in just a minute, compared to other districts. So I'll just give you a moment I have a chart like this for 23-24, and then again, another one for 24-25. ISS is in school, OSS is out of school. So these are giving you the offenses, or the most common offenses that we are seeing. So when you look at fighting, assault, battery, violence without physical injury, some of those words sound very like battery, assault. I will tell you a lot of these are falling into like a fighting, probably, what we would consider a school fight or some type of physical contact, but without physical injury. There are a lot of also, we have to report on harassment. We have to report on bullying. To the state, whether they're founded or unfounded. I'll get into that in a minute too. But just a little overview of kind of where we're falling. And I'm going to pull up the next year, and it looks similar. So again, we still have some of that fighting. And then drugs are oftentimes what are popping up. So our in-school suspensions, I'm showing you this by year and levels. So the purple is 23-24 in-school suspensions, and the blue is 24-25. So for example, at the elementary level, we had 18 in-school suspensions in 23-24, and then in 24-25, we had 11. So that's where the students get an in-school, we're now calling it intervention. So they get to spend time in a space, in school, they do get their work given to them, and they are able to make up all their work. If a student receives services such as social work, speech, things like that, we do provide those services during the day as well, during that in-school suspension. So there's our numbers. And yes, the high school did go up from one year to the next. But I think the next slide will give you an answer to why. Because when we look at our out of school suspensions from one year to the next, our high school out of school suspensions significantly decreased. So I think some of the things that we were considering as an out of school, we've also adjusted and thought, how can we support these kids in school? So that's our out of school suspension. Now, make sure you understand too that out of the elementary or any of these, 15 out of school, that could be composed of 5 students total at our elementary level. So this doesn't talk like number of, like a count of students. That is just the number of incidences. Okay. And I can go back to any of these when we get to questions, or, I mean, do you have any questions now that you want to ask? Because I know this is a lot of data. No, I'll keep going, and if you need me to go back, I'm happy to. So our out of school suspension, or our percent of students receiving out of school suspensions, is extremely low. So this is the number, so only 0.6% of our students received an out of school suspension in 23-24. And in 24-25, only 0.3% did. So we had 28 students who made up a number of 65 incidences, and 13 that made up 39. Now, what's concerning about that is that you would think this would impact them more and they wouldn't do things again. But we're kind of seeing the same trait, right? That it's a small number of students, but perhaps a higher level of incidence, but overall, a significantly low percentage of our entire student population. This breaks it down demographically, so I'll just kind of let you digest this so the first part is the percent of students suspended, and out of that percent, so 0.6%, so 77% of 0.6% were male, 33% were female. So this just gives you our overall demographic based on those incidences and students. And this, Hispanic Latino, they can identify as this separately or in conjunction with another race. So that's why those numbers don't necessarily add up. Okay. So our district maintains one of the lowest out-of-school suspension rates compared to the 576 districts across the state. So our state has 576 school districts, and we rank, like I think I counted, I think we're 31st on the list. So out of those 576, there's only 30 school districts that have lower suspension rates than us. Those school districts may be unit, they may be a secondary district, or they could just be a K-8 district. I broke it down even more. So in the 386 Illinois unit districts, we rank 6th for the fewest out-of-school suspensions. So there's 386 unit pre-K through 12, and out of those unit school districts, we're the 6th lowest. So that is a celebration. We have very few students who are getting out-of-school suspensions. We don't report in-school suspensions to the state, so those we don't have that data. So I think what I can contribute this to, if if you were to ask me, and I think some of the teachers here, is that we have really strong partnerships with our family. We have cohesive programming, and we really have successful interventions in SEL programs. We work very hard to make sure that we enforce positive behaviors and make our students feel successful. The other thing that we've done is we've had improved consistency in incident reporting across the buildings. So what I mean by that is really having conversations at a leadership level, like, how are you coding this? How are you coding this? What would you do in this situation? Making sure, like even with technology, that we're coding things correctly in our student information system. So we have found consistency in our approaches everywhere from how we document it to how we enforce. So I think this is for a very kind of negative topic, I think we can have a huge celebration as a district. We have really great kids here in Geneva, and we always have room for improvement, but I think these statistics and data are a celebration for us for sure. So, do you have any questions?
Questions, anyone?
I had a question. What would classify as in-school suspension versus out-of-school suspension? Like, when do we choose which?
So really what this what the state regulations say is that they have to be a significant safety risk to themselves or others to be considered out of school, or they have to be a significant disruption to the overall educational setting. So those are kind of our two thresholds. So when you're looking at even like fighting, you would see that there's some, there's some that were coded as a in school or some that were an out of school. But it's up to the administrators to really think about what is that fighting. I mean, fighting on a playground where a second grader pushes another second grader, we might, and it's repeated, they've done it multiple times, we might look at that as an in-school intervention. Same thing with like possession of a weapon. Well, I'll promise you that a possession of a weapon, this right here is not bringing like a knife to school to use it to harm someone, right? It might be they had a knife in their bag, a pocket knife that perhaps they left there and didn't turn into the school. So it's really thinking through the whole situation.
Thank you.
I know. The data only tells a little bit of the story. So, other questions?
Observation, the data is interesting and pretty widely variable. It would be helpful if I didn't have a feedback. No, it would be helpful if we had a few more years, just kind of top-down view to see trends and things of that nature, rather than just 2 years.
We certainly can do that.
I did actually have a thought about that. I was kind of wondering what pre-COVID numbers were, because I feel like we have gone through a lot with student behavior, as our kids have gone through a lot through COVID. So like, does that look different, positively, negatively? What does that look like? That would be kind of interesting to see, to tell that whole story based on what I hear from teachers in classrooms.
I don't know, I'll be honest, because I did kind of take a look at some of that data, although like I said, things were coded differently. We haven't had consistency, but I don't think you're going to see that in this data, because this is our highest exclusionary discipline data. It doesn't represent the kid that is getting a detention or is maybe yelling out in class. So this is big ticket items here that are causing exclusionary discipline. So we do look at that at a school level. We look at what we call minor behavior incidences versus major. But again, some of that data is sometimes hard to tease out based on who inputs it and who doesn't, and who's like, you know, there are teachers that that's just the way of their world. Like they're constantly redirecting, but they don't think to put it in. So, yeah. But I'm happy to give you any data we have. I just want to make sure that the data is consistent and accurate and tells the picture of whatever you're looking for. So, okay. We have all kinds of data.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
Item 4 on the agenda, public comments. Have we received any requests for comments? All of you in the audience, anyone want to say something? It's your golden chance. Item 5, legislative updates.
All right, thank you. I do have one bill that was introduced recently this month, Senate Bill 2788. It is regarding the school resource officer grant. There is a bill out there that's asking the Illinois State Board of Education to establish a program that pays for the salaries and other costs related with a school resource officer. It was just introduced, as I mentioned, so the language will probably change. It's not very specific right now. Sometimes these grant opportunities are targeted for school districts that maybe don't have the means that we do, but I just wanted to mention that that was one that I found that was new this calendar year. And Dr. Barrett mentioned in our finance committee meeting earlier that it is pretty early in the session, so things are just getting introduced. They're still working on language, and obviously once things are filed, then they change from now until the end of May. So I'll just keep you updated on new ones that I find, and that's my report.
Thank you. The next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Barrett.
Thanks, Larry. I just have a few things to share and touch base on tonight. First, you know, very timely. Just want to talk a little bit about our inclement weather planning. I put this on my presentation because at this meeting last year, I talked about this right around a time when we didn't actually end up having, you know, we just had a normal school day when there were some questions about the weather. But I just think it's kind of important for folks who might be watching to really understand about our process. First, I think everybody knows we try to be pretty transparent about our biggest priority being having in-person learning to the greatest extent possible, because we know that's the best for kids and best for teachers. But we do obviously have these other options. And when we make these decisions, obviously first, I mean, I think people know they're hard, right? These aren't easy black and white situations. There's a lot of thinking and reflecting and processing a lot of minutia. And when we do that, we're really focusing on a couple things. First and foremost, obviously safety for everyone and for our kids. In addition to that, like, what is our capacity as a district to be able to, you know, ensure we can provide the best quality experience? And another thing we try to think about is family impact, and that's a hard one. You know, with Friday's e-learning day, I think one thing we know, and one thing I certainly know from feedback I received beforehand, is that some families would much prefer, and they think the impact of an e-learning day is much better for their family, and other families think that that's a pretty significant impact and pretty difficult, and would prefer to not have something like that. So trying to balance the safety and what is our capacity to be able to do, and what is the impact on all the families in our district, it's really what we try to think through. You know, then we look at our historical practices. We think about what are kind of the thresholds, and we also want to be thinking about what precedents have been set in the past and what precedents we could be setting when we make those decisions. Again, I think Friday was a great example of, you know, you look at what the thresholds are for kind of weather warnings, what our historical practices have been around those temperatures, and what we've kind of done in the past. And then that's what I think made it a pretty clear decision for us. Then the other thing we have to do is we do a lot of internal and external collaboration. You know, this morning you heard from, or not this morning, previous to this meeting, we heard from Mr. Johnson in transportation. I'm obviously talking to him. I'm talking to Mr. Peterson in operations all the time, and talking a lot with our neighbors and my colleagues across the county and across the region to get their feel. And we really try to work together, and I'm grateful for collaboration with those folks too. And then another thing that we've tried to improve is being very timely and saying, when are we going to decide this and how quickly can we tell people when we know? When it comes to something like we had again Friday with the temperature, that's a little easier to know. The forecast is a little more stable than, say, snow, where you're not quite sure. So when we know earlier, we know that everyone appreciates knowing earlier, and so we try to do as good a job as we can of doing that communication. So, you know, if we end up having to think about this more, we will. But I just think it's important to kind of reiterate our process. And we're going to obviously reflect. You're never perfect. And we learn each time we do it. And what we learned from Friday and today, we'll take that into consideration as we look in the future. It's not a black and white issue. Also wanted to give you some updates on the LaFox of Campton Hills development. We talked a lot about this earlier this year, and you know, we did the developer donation agreement that we settled on, and I just wanted to kind of touch base on two key facts. One, as expected, we learned this last week that Village of Campton Hills has formally initiated a study on the feasibility of establishing a TIF for the development area. We anticipated that. We talked about that. You may recall we built that into our developer donation agreement because we wanted to make sure that the district and the services the district could provide to potential students from this development. We wanted to make sure we were supported to do that if a TIF was established. So we're not surprised that they've taken this step, but we thought it was important to publicly acknowledge that they have formally done that. They've engaged in consultative services with a firm who evaluates land for potential TIF. What that means is a joint review board will be meeting here at some point after that consultant completes the evaluation. We have a seat on the joint review board, and we'll be sitting there, of course. Also, remember that as part of that developer donation agreement, you know, we have some obligations at the joint review board table, given what we negotiated in that agreement. So that's all going to be happening and in play here. Todd and I have been talking about this a lot and working with our attorneys who met with you earlier this summer. So we're going to keep that at front of mind, and we'll certainly keep you and the community informed. The other thing I think is important to be thinking about here, and we talked a little bit about this, and we're going to have to come back and talk about this. And when we do, we'll come back and have this be its own kind of agenda item. But we need to start, I think, now that this is getting a little further down the road, I think we need to start having some formal conversation about the implications for the attendance area or the boundaries for the district. You know that we discussed earlier this year, you know, maintaining our current boundaries based on everything we learned from our demographic study and our capacity analysis, maintaining our current boundaries for all the neighborhoods that are currently sending kids to our schools. And so we're sticking with that for the foreseeable future, and we think that's a good way to go. We also recognize that this is an area that currently doesn't send any kids to school, and so we want to start having some conversations for what is the best attendance area for this potential neighborhood should it eventually come to fruition and come online, and start generating students for the school district. What's the best attendance area for those students? So obviously we're going to look again at the demographic study and the capacity analysis to contribute to that. We need to think about what our programming needs are long term as a district and do some proactive long term planning. If we need to make some decisions about the most appropriate attendance area, the school of attendance basically for that attendance area, the best time to do that is before there are any families or kids there to be sending kids who we would have to make any changes for, right? So that's why I think throughout the rest of this year, as we learn more about the development, that's when it's going to be really important to have some of those conversations, because you don't want to start having that conversation after things start getting established and families start moving in. Does that make sense? Okay.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Has the developer yet released what type of homes they're going to be building?
Yeah, it's a great question, and no is the answer. We have not seen. I mean, we've seen general. We get kind of general information, but this, as yet to my experience, and maybe Todd, you could speak up if you've seen something different than me, but I have not seen. Typically when you're at this stage, the developer has specific models out with specific floor plans and things like that. We've only heard like general information, well, about this many square feet, about this many bedrooms. We've not seen any floor plans or models or anything like that. Todd, have you seen anything like that?
We have not. We've just seen a mixture, I think, of single-family homes and some more townhomes of some type.
Yeah, vast majority was going to be, sorry, pardon me, I think it was a 700 single family and about 150 or so townhomes, but because that's going to be you're asking because that's the key factor, right? I mean, that's going to tell us a lot about how many potential kids could be generated. And that's the beauty of our demographic study, right? It tells us a home in this general area with this many square feet and this many bedrooms is likely to generate this many kids for the, 0.2 kids or whatever to the district. So we really need that information to start understanding that. Good question. So more to come, and this will be a standing agenda item. It's own agenda item at this point, so people can know we're having that conversation. And last, just we've done a lot of facts and thank yous. One more I wanted to kind of highlight here today briefly is just the partnership that we have with the community and the use of our facilities. We've talked a lot about our facilities over the last several meetings and a lot of needs that we have in our facilities, but also the generally high quality of them. And one of the things that we know about that or that proves that is how much they're used by the community. Our community partners in a wide variety of ways use our facilities a lot, our grounds and our buildings. And that's awesome. I mean, our facilities are part of this community. It's not just kids leave at 2:15 or 3 o'clock or 3:30 and then they're done. Our community uses our facilities. And I think that's really great and really important. First, I think, we do it in a lot of formal and informal ways. Formally, I think, we have a lot of formal programming partnerships. The Park District has the Friendship Station Preschool. They have Kids Zone. They have camps. We have a lot of formal ways that partners like that or like the Mid-Valley Special Ed Co-op use our facilities, and that's really awesome. And we also have myriad community-based programs and activities that take place in the facilities all the time, whether that's specific community groups or scouts, or our feeder athletic programs are all got a lot of really robust feeder programs, and they use our buildings. Civic organizations use our buildings for things. So we are a nice resource for the community, and we're also grateful to have all those partnerships because that's part of what makes school community great. So that's all I had tonight. Thanks, Larry.
Well, thank you very much, Andy. Next, item 7, board dialogue topics pending action consideration. The first item is policy updates. We have 16 policies which are primarily updated, and these policies have been reviewed. Are we not working? All right. These policies have been reviewed by the administration and the policy committee, and they were presented for the first reading on January 12th and are being presented at this time for the second reading. Questions may be directed to the policy committee chair. Any questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Item 2, board meeting calendar. These meeting dates are in alignment with last year's calendar and with the exception of the January board retreat. Any questions? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Moving right along, item 3, the board action preliminary technology capital plan. The technology capital plan will be presented by Mike Wilkes. Do we have him?
What was presented by Mike Wilkes at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And so this one is just for approval of the plan he presented.
Okay. Better yet. Any questions? Motion to approve.
So moved. Second. Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Wait a minute, did I get out of sequence here? Okay, item 2. Proposed hearing officer services. Dr. Barrett will present the proposed. But we can do them as a block. Well, a motion to approve, yeah, but, okay, I got it. The 22 policies here are updated and rewritten policies. This is a first reading and updated and reviewed and in a few cases new. So policy chair will respond to questions.
I have just a few that I wanted to call out to everyone's attention for the first reading before approval. So these are ones, a lot of these policies just have small updates, some language changes, some legal updates, no major changes, but these 3 policies are the ones that we talked about a little bit more. So the first one is policy 480, accounting and audits. This one had the option to include a sentence for the AFR to be submitted by October 15th. We chose not to include that sentence because we are finding that our auditing firms are not able to complete the AFR by that deadline. You guys will know we recently had a meeting, I think it was in our December meeting possibly, where we went over that, so that would not have met that timeline. So that's out of our control, so we didn't want to put that constraint in there right now while the firms aren't able to meet that. And then there's policy 660, curriculum content. This was the biggest policy that changed. There was added curriculum requirements from the state. So this is mainly around health topics, so drug and alcohol abuse prevention across all grades, K through 12. Online safety, abduction, and other health topics such as mental illness and several other things. So this one is going to be several changes, so take some time to read through that. But we will be hearing about this more as the administration works through how we're going to be adding that in. We're now having to dig back into all of our curriculum across K through 12 to see, like, are there places where we're already doing this? How do we do this at in an age appropriate way to talk about these topics? And what does that look like? So more to come on that, but that's a big policy change. And then the last one was 6210, instructional material. So this one had an option for us to decide if we wanted to adopt some alternative language, and you guys can take a look at that alternative language. We chose not to adopt it, and really it was around our process for approving new text and literature for our classes, and it gave us the option to not bring that to the board for approval and just have the administration do that. And we chose not to because we found that process has been pretty valuable for this board, and we've had a lot of great conversation, and it's brought other topics to the board because of those conversations, so we wanted to continue that process. But let me know next week if you guys have any questions on the rest. Those are just the ones I wanted to call out to pay special attention to.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, item 2, proposed hearing officer services. Dr. Barrett?
Yeah, thanks, Larry. So you all will remember we've had a lot of conversation about the potential use of a hearing officer, and we considered this in potential use of a hearing officer in certain disciplinary circumstances. We actually had a similar proposal that came forward to the board at one point, I think last year, and our conversation was basically we needed to make sure we all were in agreement on what our policy should say about the potential use of this practice. And so policy committee spent a lot of time working on that, and you all finally, the policy committee made a formal recommendation for that, and you all voted on that at our last meeting, which brings this recommendation back. So it's just in here for information tonight. The idea would be for you to have an opportunity to review it. And then if you agreed and were to vote to approve, approve this offer, I guess, or this proposal at our next meeting, then this individual would be kind of online. He would be someone who you had approved as the board, that if we felt we needed to use a hearing officer as outlined in our newly changed policies, this would be the individual we would be able to work with to do that. So happy to answer any questions, or just leave this here for you to consider, and could answer more questions at our next meeting as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Barrett. Item 9 is information. Item 9 is the board meeting and presentation schedule. Item 2 is the FOIA requests and board correspondence. Are we working? Item 3 is the suspension report. And item 4 is out-of-state trip requests. These items are for information only, and no discussion is required. So we will proceed to item 10, the consent agenda, my favorite. Item 1, personnel report, resignations, retirements, leave requests, changes in assignment, full-time equivalent, new hires. Item 2, monthly financials for December. Item 3, the 2026-27 policy committee meeting calendar draft. Any questions or discussion? A motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Item 11, board member comments and reports. Anyone particularly like to start? How about you, Stephanie?
Yeah, I can start. So I just wanted to say congratulations to all of our students who we honored tonight. It was just always fun to see the different areas our students are working in and really excelling in. And it was really great to see all the artwork that had won some prizes. And I think our Scholastic magazine is always beautiful, both the literature and the photography in there. So nice job to everyone. Thank you to our Fox Valley Career Center students who were here tonight. It was wonderful to hear from them, hear how these programs are impacting them, and even just some of the reasons why they're taking those classes. It's really helpful for us to see how we're plugging into different students and the needs they have. So thank you. We did have a communications task force meeting recently, and we talked through several different topics, but the one that I really wanted to highlight was around our new system rollout, which Mike had already talked to us about the Monday before. So, we already all have information on that, but we started talking through the communication on that piece. It's not something we've talked a lot with our school community yet, but it's more communication will be coming out as we're ramping up to make the conversion over the summer. And really the big thing is going to be registration will stay the same. Like that was something that I was really unsure about, so I just wanted to repeat that registration will kind of stay the same this year, but the timelines are so important and that communication will come out. But eventually our system is going to shut off, and if you are not registered and verified and all those things that are sometimes tedious to do, then it's going to be difficult to get back in. So more communication coming out about that, and the task force was kind of working through some of the best ways to communicate that effort out. I also was able to attend our Theater Booster meeting. They're working on their winter showcase right now, which will be coming up mid-February, and then we'll jump right into the spring musical. So lots of different things going on to work on that. There's always room to help if you are if you're interested in helping out with the theater, and lots of good things to come. This is kind of the really busy season for the theater program, so more to come about the shows, but an exciting time for them. That's all.
Thank you. Jackie?
Yeah, I'll echo what Stephanie said. It was great to hear from the students in the Fox Valley Career Center tonight. We can hear about the programming that's there, but to hear it directly from the students and that they took the time to come tonight to tell us about what their experience was wonderful. I learned a lot tonight from them. And congratulations to our award winners tonight. Some great work being done at the high school. I was able to attend the Western PTO meeting. That was a lot of fun. There was a large crowd who showed up that night. There are a few incentives that they have to get people to come to their meetings, but there was one young lady who told her mom she wanted to go to the meeting because she wanted to know what happens at a PTO meeting, and I thought that was great. So they came and they listened to what we talked about. We had some good questions. I wrote down what they were from. Some people asked about the results from the cafeteria survey, some of the demographic trends, and then the school calendar came up as a topic. So it was good to be able to talk to them about what was on their mind while we were there that night. I enjoyed that. Also got to attend the Unified Vikings night, the Pack the Place. That was a lot of fun. Mr. Rogers said at the end of the night that he thought that was one of the greatest nights in Geneva Community High School history. And I agree. I think it was wonderful how many people showed up. Hopefully you saw a lot of the pictures that were on our social media pages, so to see the excitement that was in the gym that night. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Paul?
Yeah. So I also had a chance to be at the communications meeting, and I'll kind of just say that we have the Community Connects coming up, and that is on February 2nd at the library from 9 to 10 a.m. And then the next evening, February 3rd, from 7 to 8 p.m. It gives an opportunity if you want to come in and listen to Andy and talk and ask questions. The more people there, I think the better the conversation. Also, we had the Heartland PTO meeting that I attended, and they have this real driver as a PTO president, and it's Stephanie down there. Very well organized, I have to say with that. But I think if I remember right, the principal gave a very good discussion there on some of the reading, right? No, I forget what the...
Yeah, both the reading and some of the testing that our kids are taking, because it's a really big testing season for our elementary students, so.
Yeah. And then finally, I was at the Theater Boosters Club, and just to give you those dates ahead here, on February 13th and 14th, the Theater Boosters will, at the high school will be putting on The Complete History of America Unabridged, and so that'll be on the 13th and 14th. And that is there was a confusion maybe in the calendar previously, but it is the 13th and 14th are the correct dates.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. And then the spring musical is going to be April 23rd and 23rd through the 25th, and on February 26th, I think, is 24th are the auditions for that for any of the students that are listening in. So. And they'll be doing Chicago this year.
Molly?
I just wanted to point out something really cool tonight. I think when we think of high school students and the time in high school, a lot of attention is on athletics and preparation for applying and attending college. And tonight, we got things that I find immensely important. We got to celebrate the success of art and literature, and we got a presentation on alternate career paths, and I think that is super, super cool and something that needs so much more attention. I have a young man in our family circle who felt lost in high school and didn't know what to do and kind of stumbled into a fire safety program. He's now 22, and he has so many options at his hand. He was accepted pre-med with scholarships. He has fire departments like fighting over him. He's been in an emergency room, tech, a paramedic, like so many wonderful things because he found an alternate path in the program. And to any student, I heard the message, wanting to get out of Geneva or not sure what direction. This is such a cool opportunity that we have, so please consider taking advantage And then I just wanted to shout out, Friday we had an e-learning day, and I can't speak for everyone across the board, but my 2 elementary students, it went off without a hitch. So a big thank you to our teachers who planned and prepped and coached students beforehand of what to do and how to do it, and the time that they put into that. It was engaging, and they both had a really lovely learning experience. And it also speaks to our technology task force and Mike Wilkes and his team for our one-to-one devices. Having those laptops, and being able to provide that to our students is really cool. So I just wanted to shout that out too, and that's all I got.
Thank you, Molly. One of the reasons I go last is I can mostly just say, yeah, what everybody said, because they're all doing important work and it's worthy to hear direct reports. I certainly agree with things about the opportunity to broaden the educational perspective, and I offer a little tip of the hat to the faculty who provides those opportunities for our students with a wide range of interest and possibilities. Lastly, I would say that I was happy to start discussions with the GEA, a large group, and I felt very positive about the atmosphere and look forward to continued conversation with them. So with that, item 12 is notices or announcements. I have none. Does anybody have any? The next thing is executive session. I get to read a long thing and then we cease the public meeting. So I guess I'm just saying that when I finish this, you're free to leave. At any rate, executive session to consider matters pertaining to appointment, employment, compensation, or discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the public body, or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or a volunteer of the public body against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider increase in compensation to a specific employee that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be in closed session and must be open to the public and posted as held in accordance with the Act 5 ILCS. Discussion of minutes or of a meeting lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, whether for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or a semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by Section 206. All that reading instruction paid off at some point. We now need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you all for coming this evening. We very much appreciate your attendance.